welcome to the Young Indian Professionals of New England talk show with the professionals, where we highlight professional success stories and community success stories. Today we have on our show Shefali Kalyani, who is the founder and executive director of We Care Charity. Thank you so much for being part of the show today.
Thank you so much, Niharika, and young Indian professionals for having me, and I appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much. So we want to start with your professional background. So professionally, you are a quality assurance engineer. What inspired you to choose that career path?
So I didn't choose the career path, to be frank with you.
Wow.
More like it chose me. When I started doing my work in my profession, there was no computers. There were no internet. So it was not something that I fell into the career. It wasn't that I did not go to school to become a QA engineer. I did choose computer science, so it was there, and computers were only in the libraries back then. I'm not trying to give away my age, but it was a while ago. So it chose for
Still
me.
looking young.
Yeah, it says your age is a number, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
it was for me, and I enjoyed doing what I did.
Oh wow. So that's an incredible story how it chose you. Do you have any memorable moments that you had when you were a quality assurance
Sure,
professional?
absolutely. I mean, it started off with a developer saying, "Hey, I'm doing this. You want to check it out if I'm doing it right? You want to test it for me?" And that word test was not a part of QA engineering role at that time because it didn't exist. And I said, "How do I test what you're doing? I don't know what you're doing. You're a developer. I'm not a developer." And he says, "Okay, just go in here on the back end and test this and do this." And I tested it, and I'm like, "Yeah, it gave me the result that you're asking. Okay, it worked.
Wow.
Good." So that was, in a nutshell, what I did, away from what I did before, which was basically, I don't even know, this is beyond your time, but I'll tell you anyway. It was the computers in companies used to be, a lot of the companies, at least the companies I worked for, was weighing VS. It was a mainframe. It was not even something you would have heard of right now. And we were switching that computers over to laptops. And that's what I was actually in charge for switching those companies over into laptops. And while they were doing that, there was some testing that was going on by developers. And I was trying to test what they were doing was providing the right results. So in a way, yes, it was a QA role, but back then it was not justified, or it was not identified as called a QA. So that's what I mean. I fell into the career, and later on it got developed, and then more and more availability came about as to what my job entailed.
Yeah.
And I fell into that role, and I enjoyed it, but that's not how I started off.
No, I think that's a really great story of how, you started being in the corporate world, but now you do something that's not even corporate at all. You are a founder of a charity organization called We Care Charity. So did you have a defining moment when you decided that you didn't want to be in the corporate world?
Well, I'll be frank with you. I worked in companies such as Fidelity, Liberty Mutual, to name a couple on big ones. And I never felt I was part of the corporate world. I never felt I fit in completely with the corporate culture, the corporate politics, the corporate environment.
Yeah.
Good and bad. But I didn't quite know what I wanted. But I did what I had to do because it paid bills. And, until I started to feed people, that's when I realized this is my true calling and this is what I want to do. I never knew what I tried on different careers or different paths within my career. And I kept saying, this isn't me, this isn't me. But what was me, I did not know until I fed people. And that calling came so strong. And I said, this is exactly what I want to do. And I wanted to leave, of course, the corporate world as soon as I realized it. But you know, as I said, it paid bills and I couldn't leave it right away. So I
Yeah, that
left
makes
it
sense.
back in 2017, I want to believe, or 16,
Oh,
something
wow.
like that. I said, okay, this is, you know, my husband and I decided that it was possible that I could leave my work, and that's when I left it. But I've had good memories. It's not all bad. I had good memories. It's just that me, inside my heart, I felt deep down, this isn't for me,
Of
you know.
course, it's like you have to follow what you're passionate about. And I
Exactly.
feel like many young professionals don't do that because their limitations are they have to pay for rent, they have to pay for, student tuition money, if they
Correct.
be in student debt, the student loan. So they might not have the opportunity to be able to be like, you know what, I want to do what I want passionate about. So I think
And
that's
sometimes
really
they don't
inspiring.
know what they're passionate about too. Sometimes
Exactly.
you don't know, you know, especially when you're young. Remember, I mean, I'm talking my age. You know,
No, don't say
you
that.
guys are you guys are very young. So it's hard to, when I was your age or even a little bit older, I was clueless. I didn't know what I wanted either. You know, it's you have to try on different ropes to figure out which rope
Exactly.
course and which one you want to climb on, you know?
It's all trial and error until you find
Yes,
what works best for you, which is
absolutely.
incredible. And now you started this organization called We Care Charity, which is a
Yep.
501(c)(3) nonprofit organization, which is based off of Salem, New Hampshire. It is made for people who share an advocacy of compassion. Its mission is to provide food and empower children, individuals, and family in crisis in
Mhm.
New England and beyond. And We Care Charity is also powered by donations as well.
Right.
And that is super incredible. I personally have been there because I remember I did my birthday there, and I
Good.
felt so rewarded because I was able to give back to people who do not have food resources. And food scarcity is such an important topic that is in discussion today. And I
Mhm.
feel like what you're doing at such a big scale is incredible, and more kudos to you.
Thank you.
First, I want to congratulate you because I want to read off some statistics that blew my mind that you gave it to me. Is that you regularly set up and facilitate feeding programs at 21 shelters, two soup kitchens, and one group home in New Hampshire and Massachusetts. And you
Mhm.
guys cook and serve an average of 3,000 people each month.
Yes.
You have your own food pantry, which you serve 1,500 folks a month, and you
Yep.
personally go to Lowell and Manchester. And one thing that really blew my mind was that you guys shipped 25,000 pounds of generally used clothes to India.
Yes.
Those numbers speak for themselves, and I think that is so incredible what you're doing, and it's so inspiring because obviously we take food for granted. I mean, we go in the fridge and be like, I want to take this, I want to take that, but we don't recognize that, we can't take this for granted. So I think what you're doing for the community is so incredible and inspiring, and it should inspire the young generation today.
Thank you. I just wanted to let you know that these, you know, I am a mouthpiece behind We Care Charity, but it's really run by volunteers. So all these things that you just said, which, you know, we talked about 21 shelters and feeding all 3,000 people a month and whatnot. It's all my volunteers doing. I do, of course, the work with them, but they are really the front runners of We Care Charity who give in. My board of directors actually are incredible. Parul Patel Sangvi, she's my president on the board, and she goes to Lowell. I used to go every week to Lowell, and she took over that.
Oh,
And she goes to Lowell every week and feed people on the streets, just like I do. So I told her where to go and I showed her the ropes, but she's doing it. And birthday parties, we have 3 of our board of directors, they get together and they go. So I'm not everywhere, which is naturally not possible.
yeah, we're all
They
human.
really take the thing. I have one of my board of directors, Vinita. She leads the birthday parties and she cooks with me at Nashua Soup Kitchen. If I'm not there, she does it on her own. So it's a lot. You know, it takes a village, as we say. But in my case,
Teamwork makes the dream work.
it's a huge teamwork and lots of
Yes.
volunteers and their incredible donations and their hours. You know,
I think
that's
that's incredible what you all are doing and achieving. So I know you founded this organization. So could you please share us a story on how you started this organization and what was your vision behind it?
so. My only vision was to feed people. I didn't think anything beyond that. I didn't know how to start. I'm not a professional where I had any kind of help as to how do I start an organization? What do I do? I didn't know any of that. All I knew was I wanted to feed people. So I started to call soup kitchens, and most of the soup kitchens, they said they're all set because they have bigger companies coming in, they have churches coming in. So I was kind of disheartened in the beginning as to like, well, what do I do now? So then one time the Nashua Soup Kitchen called me up. This is 11 years ago.
Oh,
And they
wow.
said to me, they said to me that, you wanted to cook. So we have a vacancy. Would you like to come in and cook? I'm all excited. I said, sure, I'd love to cook. And I said, how many people? And they said 200. And my jaw just kind of dropped. I said, how many? They said 200. I had never cooked for 200 before.
Yeah.
So I called few friends. I didn't have a nonprofit at the time or anything. I just called few friends, and few of them, I made them come and guilt trip and the works. And I got a team of people going. And I purchased all the groceries and I cooked. Cooking was really good, but serving was extremely humbling. Giving food to people who absolutely had nothing. I have never been in that situation. It humbled me so much that I actually went in the back and I threw up. I felt very sick. I physically felt
Oh,
very sick. And the kitchen manager ran after me and he said to me, you'll be back. He said, anybody who feels this physically ill with somebody else's downfall, do something about it and they'll be back. I said, I'm not sure if I can do this again. They said, trust me, you will. Well, that was 11 years ago. And we started feeding with Nashua Soup Kitchen, and then we added Portsmouth Soup Kitchen, and then we added different shelters in Nashua. And that's how we spread into Lowell, and that's how this whole thing started. People I didn't know started giving me money towards feeding the hungry. And that's when I realized that, my husband suggested that we do a nonprofit
yeah.
because I just didn't feel comfortable holding on to somebody else's money, even though I used it in the proper place. But I still felt like, what if they ask me the receipt? What do I do with this kind of stuff?
Yeah,
And I didn't
exactly.
know. So I consulted somebody and they suggested that we should do a nonprofit. Then we came up with a name. What name do we give out? So I had back then posted on Facebook page, hey, I'm thinking about doing a nonprofit. Can you come up with different names? And everybody had their own little versions of different names they
Yeah.
wanted to do. And then I didn't like any of them. And I didn't want to make it very Indian because it's not geared towards only Indians.
Yeah.
And then my son said to me, Mom, why are you doing this? I said, because I care. He said, all right, then how about we care? And that's how the name came about.
Oh my God,
We Care
that's such an
Charity.
inspiring story.
Yeah, that's how the name came about, We Care Charity. And my first logo was, we didn't have money for a logo. So we had to do, when you apply for a nonprofit, you have to give your name and your logo. I'm like, what logo? We don't have a logo. So then we had to go through, I asked somebody, how much does it cost to make a logo? And they said $300. I'm like, I'd rather feed people. Who'll give you $300? So 3 or 4 of us we were at a Thai restaurant. And my son said, everybody put one hand on top of the other. So all 4 of us, one put our right hand on top of the other. And the waiter took a picture. That was my first logo
In a Thai restaurant?
in a Thai restaurant.
Oh my God.
That's how we made our first logo. I said, this is what I have, take it or leave it. And that guy
I
took it.
love
And that's how we became a nonprofit.
I love how you started this logo in a food facility.
Yeah.
Like it's a full circle moment.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I didn't even think about that till you told me. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a humbling story. And I was on the same boat as you when I started Young Indian Professionals of New England. I didn't know how to do a logo. I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm gonna go on Facebook. Let's see how it happens. And we both are conquering the world. So yeah, so I think that's such a great story.
Yep.
And I love how you started from the bottom and now you are where you are today.
And
So
to answer your question, my vision is to basically feed as many as I can and
yeah,
clothe as many as I can, and not to stop till I can't do it anymore.
that's impressive. So throughout your time in We Care Charity, what has been your most rewarding memory?
My most rewarding memories are two. One on a level of volunteers. During COVID, when people were afraid of coming out, when I posted that, the shelters that we serve at are closed because of COVID. Soup kitchens are closed because of COVID. I'd like to make, and I suggested a meal bag idea. Now it's still somewhere along the community. I still see people doing here and there, but I introduced the meal bag idea. The meal bag idea basically meant was make a regular brown paper bag,
Yeah.
and put in a hearty sandwich. Those who are vegetarians made peanut butter and jelly. Those who ate meat made cold cut sandwiches, chips and water bottle and juice and fruit cup and a spoon and crackers, and make a bag basically out of that. And I asked volunteers, because they were uncomfortable taking it to the shelters, outside the shelters. I asked them to bring it to my house. We were serving during COVID 1,000 meal bags a day.
Wow.
That was the volunteer work. I could only make 200 after in the evenings, 250s, about what I could make personally on my own. But we served 1,000. We would
Wow.
go in front of the shelters with folding tables, open up the tables, line up the lunch bags, and people would just come masked up and we used to wear double mask and take it. My son, my kids included, we used to, because they were home at that time, and we would all take it. And my volunteer, one of my board members, Parul, she did the same thing in Lowell, double masked up, and she would take it to, so it was 1,000 for We Care charity, and we would split it. People who wanted to help Lowell, Westford, all of that side would bring it to Lowell. Those who were nearby my area, they would end over and they would all come to Salem, New Hampshire, and
Wow.
donate. We had one woman who brought in 5, Manisha Trivedi. She brought in like 600 bags almost every week or every other day. And she used to donate. Of course, she used to gather it from Somerville and Newton and all of those areas. So we had crazy. My whole garage was out. We had put on. It was a show. It was something to see. My garage was
That's
something.
so rewarding that you were able to serve it during a whole emergency, and it's like the small efforts that make a big impact on
Yes.
society.
Yes. So that's what we did during COVID. And my second example was during COVID, I was helping one of the shelters in Lawrence, and I was putting meal bags for them to take. One woman came out of nowhere, and she asked me if she could have it. And I said, sure. She said, I have 4 hungry kids. We haven't eaten in 2.5 days. And
Wow.
I gave her bags. She took 10 bags and she ate 4 bags right in front of me. I've never seen somebody eat like that in my life. And
That's
she was just stuffing food in her mouth. She said, I haven't eaten, I haven't left anywhere. And one of her kids had COVID, and it was a mess. And it was rewarding because, I felt good that I could help,
yeah.
I could be also in the house with the mask on saying, I don't want to go out, but I chose to go out. I chose to help. Yes, I caught COVID in the process, but,
Oh no.
but I was also one of the first people to get vaccinated because I was considered the frontline workers doing what I did. So it was all worth it. And I would do it all over again. I hope we never have to, but yeah.
Oh, that's so motivating, and that's insane. 2.5 days without food.
Yes.
It's like we take the smallest things for granted, and wow,
Yeah.
it's very like it took me back. Like, oh my God, wow, people that are dealing with these real hard
Yes.
issues.
And she had 4 kids, so it was kind of hard,
Wow,
you know.
wow, that's
So
insane.
yeah,
So I want to switch gears a little. I
sure.
know, you came into the United States when you were 12 years old.
Yes.
So when you moved all the way to United States, what kind of experiences of cultural differences did you see when you moved to the US coming from India?
Everything was different. Um, if I had to do it again, all over again, I would never do it. It was just too hard for me.
Oh,
It would have been hard for anybody, because remember, as I said, when I came to US, it was in late 70s. There was no computers. I had no idea what US was. My parents came so that it was better for us. Yes, it was. But at the time, if you're talking the time when I was 12 to until I started to understand, people were very nice. Cultural difference was, of course, in the eating pattern, clothing. We were staunch vegetarians, and you come here. I couldn't even understand what a burger meant or what a hot dog was
Yeah.
or what cheeseburger was or what chicken sandwich was. I didn't know one from the other. And so that was extremely difficult. And also clothing, I didn't come from I came from a big city, but back then it was a conservative India. So
Yeah.
my dressing sense was very Indian. It was not so much with the Western culture here. So that was a big change for me. Speaking language, I went through Gujarati medium schools in Gujarat. So my English was as a second language. It was never quite, I could not grasp what's the word I'm looking for, hello versus what's up. I didn't know all the slangs or
Those
whatever,
lingos.
yeah, I didn't know any of those things. When I came here, English being my second language, rather than understanding that fact, the teacher made me take French as a second language. So here I am,
Trying to learn English, trying to learn
kid.
French.
I was the only Indian kid in school, and not understanding the translation of French into English. So I didn't understand any of it. I just sat there, and they said, they would say something in French, and I would repeat it because I know I could hear them and I could repeat the words. What does it mean in English? I didn't understand even the English translation of that because I didn't
Oh,
know
no.
English.
Oh
So
no, there must be such a language barrier.
it took them a year to figure out that I was not a useless case. I just didn't understand the language.
Oh
So then
no.
I had a English as a second language translator guy, a teacher who taught me everything basics. And I knew some English. It wasn't like I was totally lost cause, but I
Yeah.
didn't understand a lot of the words. So he taught me. I understood the slang also. He went over some of the stuff. Kids
Yeah.
don't say how do you do, or where's the waste paper bin? They say where's the trash and what's up and how's it going, and
Yeah.
things like that. It was a toll, but
Oh no.
yeah, you know what though, we didn't have this zero tolerance policy back then either. So kids said what they wanted, and a lot of times when they said I'm from India, they thought I was Native American.
That's a
So
struggle I face too today.
right, they
People,
thought,
when I say I'm Indian, they think I'm like Native American Indian. And I have
yeah,
to emphasize, no, I'm Indian. I'm actually from the country, India.
yeah.
I even still face the same issue today as well.
It's ignorance, and
Yeah,
I
exactly.
had a lot of it because back then, I'm talking, so many years ago, even teachers weren't quite sure where India was. So it was difficult, but people were very, I think compared to even now, people were more tolerant,
Hmm.
but not the kids. Kids had their own agenda,
Yeah.
didn't quite understand.
Oh,
So
wow, that's a incredible story.
yeah,
Um, so we're gonna go into more of the general
Mhm.
motivating side of this talk. Um,
Sure.
in the younger generation today, many people want to start their own organizations and companies. What advice do you have for people who want to start their own organization or a company?
So when you say organizations, do you mean like a nonprofit organization
Yeah,
or okay. Well, for nonprofit organization, I don't know much about companies, but I will definitely tell you about nonprofit organizations
yeah,
because I
of course.
have one. Um, Make sure it's really, really what you want to do. For example, somebody says, Shefali, I love what you're doing. I want to start something similar. And that has happened before.
Oh
I
no.
tell this person, volunteer. Volunteer in the organization, the type of work that you want to do. For example, you love animals, you can't start up your own nonprofit organization right away. Make sure you're committed enough because this is day in and day out work.
Yeah,
I'm the executive director, but I'm also the founder. So now I'm executive director, but I started doing this. I wear many, many hats. And
exactly.
make sure this is what the type of work you want to do. And of course, not full time, even with your own job. Make sure you have the hours and the time that your commitment that you are looking for this type of work. Be very selective as to exactly what nonprofit you want to go into. Be very selective for the board of advisors and board of directors that you choose. Not everyone has the same type of what's the word I'm looking for? Status quo that
exactly.
you have. And people like, not everyone is committed to the work that you have introduced yourself to do. So those are the kind of things I would definitely tell people to be very careful of. Advisors, sometimes they can harm you unknowingly because they have a different agenda than yours. And make sure if you do start one, take care of your volunteers, because without them, donations will come, donations will go. Volunteers are a big part of this as
They
well.
are, of
People
course.
make a big deal about donors, and they are, and I love my donors and thank God for them, but don't undermine the volunteers who are supporting your work.
That's a great wise words that you just gave. I support everything you just said.
Yeah.
And I can attest to that because starting this organization, I've also dealt with the same issues and also the same things you've been telling me. So, and also to our viewers too. So I think these are really great words and people should,
Thank you.
understand and, be sure that committing is actually what you want to do.
Exactly.
And what motivates you to achieve greater things in life?
Simple. What motivates me is when I see hungry people out there, which I see all the time. I go to Manchester. I used to go to Lowell. I've been to Boston many times. I still go once in a while to Boston to feed people.
Yeah.
I see them hungry and vulnerable on the streets who have nothing. That motivates me.
Oh,
Helping children motivates me. I used to go, as you know, at Nashua Children's Home, and helping them. Not just the feeding part, but talking to them, giving them hope, being kind to them, and just being their friend. Things like that motivate me.
yeah.
Um, people in India. I mean, I could go on and on about people in India. The need is extremely high, and I
Especially rural
understand that.
areas, yes.
Yes, in all aspects. So that
Yeah.
motivates me to help them in that
Oh,
area as well. So it's
that's so
just basically anybody who is in need of any kind, I'm there.
that's so sweet.
Thank you.
So is there any particular person that inspires you the most and why?
Few of them. My guru, his name is Avdut Baba Shivananji. He's from Delhi. He's the one who actually talked a lot about seva, which is volunteer work,
Yeah.
in giving out charity, and that he was one of the main person. I am a staunch devotee of Shirdi Sai Baba, and he always fed people. I mean, out of everything, he fed people all the time. Mother Teresa, for example, she did similar work, same work. And one of the persons who's here, he's in Lawrence. He owns House of Mercy, and I've introduced House of Mercy to Indian, all the Indian people through during the COVID and pre-COVID times. They needed help. They're good right now, but we have basically, it's a silent collaboration between my nonprofit and them, and we work a lot with House of Mercy. And the guy who started this, Roger, he impresses me, and he does a lot of work with the homeless folks, and he impresses me and he inspires me. So
I think these
these
are
are the
great
people.
people.
Yes, they are very good people, and they are good saints. And I think not everyone can be God, so they send saints
We
and
can
good.
always try to be God, but we can never be God. But yes,
That's true.
I think these are really great individuals and
Yeah.
they're pillars for what We Care Charity stands. So I definitely am very supportive over that too.
Yeah.
So is there any last words you would or advice you want to give to the young professionals of New England?
My only thing is help everybody. I totally get that. And I'm not trying to sound, a wise guy or anything like that, but
Mhm.
remember, this is our home here.
Yes.
Help locally if you can. It's great that people are helping India. Most organizations here collecting funds, sending it to India, collecting here, sending it to this organization and that organization. It's wonderful. Continue, but don't forget your local people here. You're in this country. You're raising your children in this country. You're raised. This is your home. India is your home as well, but this is really your home, and this is the people in your backyard. If they need help, please make sure you reach out to them as well.
Yeah.
Not just considering India, also consider US. This is also your home.
It's important to look for yourself, but definitely look for others, because in the long run, you all are in the same community, and I definitely do agree with that.
I had a running with a doctor, and he told me, and I was telling him about We Care Charity, and he said, so you raise funds and where does it go? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, which part of India does it go to? I was very surprised. I was kind of taken back. I said, it doesn't go to India, it goes here. It goes to Manchester, and Lowell and Lawrence. And he said, this is a very few organizations I'm seeing who's run by an Indian, that money doesn't go to India. And it was a lesson learned there. Yeah, it was very powerful.
The Indians are making a map in the Western hemisphere and Western culture. So I think that's really important. And we are able to, promote our culture through these type of things that we're doing.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's great that, that we can give back here to our own society, to our own people here as well, so.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful, and more power to you. I remember when I went to do my birthday party
Yes.
at We Care Charity, it was one of the most rewarding feelings
And
ever.
your dad, I remember all three of you coming, and it was
Yeah,
wonderful. You
and
were
even my cousin
quite
came
shaken up.
too.
You were quite shaken up and
I
taken.
was shaken up because I just didn't know what I was expecting, and then
Yes.
when I
You
was
were also
there,
so
I was like,
young,
I was like the same age of people and of these kids, and the fact that they're not able to get half the things I'm getting just breaks my heart. So that's why you've inspired me continuously throughout my journey of being in the community. And I want to thank you so much for inspiring me, and hopefully you inspiring the young and professionals of New England.
No, I'm honored that you have turned what the girl you turned out to be, and
Oh,
I'm
thank
so
you.
proud of you, because I had known you since you were in your mom's tummy. So I've known you forever.
Oh, thank you.
So you have turned excellent, and I'm very proud of you. I'm very
Oh,
proud
thank
of the young
you.
Indian professionals of New England.
Thank you. And with that, I'd like to conclude today's talk show. It was great to have you on the show, Shefali. I think it was a very inspiring talk, and hopefully people in the network can also volunteer in We Care Charity. If they want to volunteer, where can they contact you?
So if you go to wecarecharity.org, there is a volunteer form that they can fill out. That comes to me via email, or they can just contact me directly. I'm at Shefali Kalyani at gmail.com, or they could call me at 603-560-1471.
Great. Thank you so much for providing those resources. If you all want to volunteer for We Care Charity, do contact Shefali. It is a wonderful organization. I've done it myself, and it's such a rewarding feeling, and you'll feel better about yourself after doing the seva.
Thank
So
you.
have a great day, and yeah, thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thank you so much, Niharika, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you again.